Good morning to everybody, and I'm very privileged to be here. And this is one of the very esteemed universities that not the NCR but India can boast of. And now I can boast of being a part of this university. And like we were saying that I think it's time for us to give back to the society, and since we started with that, I would like to say that I think it's a very beautiful feeling to be able to give back. I would like to start our mental health, the opening with saying that if our hand is up, if we are at the giving end, there is much more satisfaction, much more contentment than when we are at the receiving end. So thank you everybody here and Dr. Bulbul and Dean sir for giving me the opportunity of being able to give a part of me to everybody who is present here for this very interactive session that we are calling Maximizing Success and Minimizing Stress. If we move to the next slide, we'll run the slides very quickly. I want to start with another opening, which is called happiness. And there is a new definition of happiness that is coming along, which is saying that happiness is the ability to be with what is happening. So the HAPP of happening, when it combines with the HAPP of happiness, is when you would get the true balance of the mind and the heart. And with that true balance, we move on to how do we get that balance. Because I would like to tell each one of you that in life, like you had your theme, mind matters, mind does matter. Because life is nothing but what we feed into this mind. Life is a series of thoughts. The quality of thought defines your life, and inputs to thoughts define the quality of life. Ajita, I think there's a phone ringing. My phone. So what is very important is, like we see on our next slide, that we must give the right kind of mantras to our life, which are positive and which are clean. So if we see some of the clean and positive mantras, we will not have to go through calculating our stresses in our life. So I've got a small exercise because Dr. Farah said let's make this into a workshop. And workshop means let us work through our mind to begin with this assessment. Because a lot of times I work very close to you. I head the Fortis group of hospitals for the mental health departments. And a part of the Fortis group, the gold mine of the Fortis group is Fortis Escorts, and that's like a walking distance from you. So a lot of times we have these programs at a number of hospitals which are called as these executive health checkups. And keeping in place the theme of the World Mental Health Day, let us understand our mental health even at our workplace. Now that workplace could be your academic space, it could be your professional space. So we are having a combination. So a lot of times people come to us and they say, can you tell us where am I as far as my level of stress is concerned? So of course, if you have beautiful smiles like Dr. Bulbul always has, then we don't need to assess. But otherwise, I thought let's start today's workshop with a little self-assessment. I'm going to give you some questions on the screen there. You need to mark those questions if we go further. If we just run this through, there are going to be some statements of common reactions that we have to life. I want you to rate them on a scale of 1 to 5 for yourself. If you have notebooks, very good. If you don't, I think your phones are having notepads these days. You can use those. So I'm going to read out 15 questions to you. If we move to the next slide. You need to mark them on a scale of 1 to 5. If you feel the answer is never, you can put it as never. If you feel the answer is rather often, you put rather often. पूरा question लिखने का जरूरत नहीं है. You don't need to write that down. Just put question number 1 and put your answer next to it. Otherwise, it will take a very long time. Okay, so let's start with assessing ourselves. Where are we as far as our stress levels are concerned? So I read the first question. I feel run down and drained of physical or emotional energy. So where do you see yourself? Never, rarely, sometimes, rather often, nearly all the time. You can just
give an A, B, C, D, E to that.
Yeah, or you can just put never in front of it.
So if we give that, then all the questions have no grounds.
Yeah, either way, since it's here on the screen with these, you can use this, otherwise A, B, C, D, E is also good. So question number 1, please put what is your answer. Question number 2, I take longer time than usual to do things. I need to submit my home assignment tomorrow, but I submit it only after the weekend. So I normally procrastinate and I take longer time to do things. Question 3, I find myself getting upset over trivial things. Things are very small, but I start getting upset over it. Question 4, I have difficulty in concentrating. My attention and concentration is not too good. Question 5, I felt that I'm achieving less than I should. So my goal, my dream is different from my deliverable. Answer between never, rarely, sometimes, rather often and nearly all the time. Is the first slide over? We can move to the next set of statements. Next slide, sir. I find my... Then we will give you a clap.
No, I will give it a retired coach.
Then we will take you along with us. Whoever answers never to all the questions will have the privilege of going back with me into the wellness clinic that is round the corner at Fortis. Okay, so now true answers. We don't need your answers, but you need your answers. Because in this workshop, you need to start by knowing where am I as far as my well-being is concerned. Where am I as far as my mental health is concerned. And we're not even looking at clinical concerns right now. We're saying let's start at the basic base. Let's start at the foundation. So question 6, I find myself getting frustrated. Statement 7, I felt that there is more work to do than I practically have the ability to do so. Statement 8, I have bodily aches and pains. Just put the question number and write your answer. Question 9, I have negative thoughts about all my work, about my academics, about life at large. So what is negativity? Statement 10, I find that I do not have time to do as much as I want to. Statement 11, I experience heaviness or headaches or tightness in my head. Go to the next slide, sir. Last 4 statements. Statement 12, I find myself becoming irritable and angry. Statement 13, I feel under an unpleasant level of pressure to succeed. Statement 14, I have disturbed sleep. Statement 15, I feel tired and easily fatigued. Your answers from never to nearly all the time. Now what do we do with these answers? On our next slide. So all, just keep clicking. If you have circled never, it gets a score of 0. And all the zeros go back with me. So wherever you put your 0, give it a score of, wherever you put never, give it a score of 0. Rarely gets a score of 1. Sometimes gets a score of 2. Rather often gets a score of 3. And nearly all the time gets a score of 4. So your scoring for all your answers will be then total. So अगर आपका you've given rarely, then you give 1. So like this, total all the 15 scores that you get, and you will get 1 final score. You total up your score and calculate your wellness score and stress level. So is the total done? So now we total up. You total up all the scores that you got. So he doesn't need to add only 0 plus 0 plus 0. So we will see how many of us end with a total score of 0, because then I will call the ambulances accordingly to go back. But how many of you have a score, if we go to the next slide, between 0 and 15? So you can raise your hands up also. Okay. We go further, next click. 16 to 25. Okay, 1, 2, easy to count. Next slide. There are more scores coming. 26 to 40. Oh my God. The younger. And then we come to the next one, which I really hope we don't see hands up, but we are seeing hands coming up, which is 5 hands up. 7. So we've got about 7 hands up who are in severe levels of stress. And I don't want to take the smiles away, but it was very unfortunate to see maximum number of students. I think we had almost about 80% hands up between the 26 to 40, which is moderate stress. And we have a correlation of this scale with clinical mental health disorders, which say that if we are anywhere above the mild stress levels, we may be having a predisposition towards some mental health clinical concerns. So I don't want to take your smiles away. It is a day to smile, it is a day to shine. But I do want to bring back these smiles into your life by first being cognizant, like Dr. Bulbul said, and being aware that I have almost crossed the boundary. Anywhere under 20 is where we are happy for you to be in. Because stress is inevitable. Stress will be there in our lives. What we need to do is we need to learn coping strategies. If we are below 20 on our scores, means we have adequate number of coping strategies also to deal with that stress that is coming our way. But it is particularly disappointing for me to know that our scores, especially in the youth, is with a predisposition towards mental health concerns. We will come back to what we can do about them, and maybe the next workshop that we will do into different clinical domains itself. But as we go to the next slide, this we've got an insight into. I want you to understand that mental wellness, and this is a WHO definition of mental wellness, says that it is a state of social and emotional well-being. So you need to see how we build this up, in which one, we are able to fulfill our potential. So the first step is again to identify what is my potential. Second step is to identify, do I have those coping capabilities? Do I have those coping reserves to deal with the normalities of life? Mental wellness is a state of work productivity. And very importantly, mental wellness has a sense of purpose and is able to make a contribution to his or her society. And that is why I said the fourth definition of mental wellness in the 2024 is try and keep your hand on top, which is what we also call as unconditional giving. What Dr. Bindu was a part of from our NGO initiatives to be here as a part of all these interactions is when you can unconditionally give. Unconditionally means without an expectation that something is going to come back to you.
I have a simple quick query. Cope with the normal stress of life. How do we define normals?
See, the normal are the regular life that you have chosen to be a part of. So for example, coming and delivering a lecture is a normal part of the life that you have chosen for yourself. Going into the clinic space and working every day. But suppose as you go out today, again I have to go, again I'm going to be seeing 20 people in my OPD who are going to be depressed, who are going to be highly stressed, is when I need to build up my coping strategies to be able to deal with the normalities. Like when you come to college, there should be enthusiasm. I'm going to get to learn something today. I'm going to build up my knowledge quotient. So, but sometimes students come with stress. Oh God, another day, which is what we call as Monday blues. So that is when we need to build up our coping strategies. I'm very glad that students are smiling with the kind of stress board they depicted to me. You all took my smile away. And today I was telling them, I said this was the third lecture that I'm coming to. But we really need to build up our coping for our students here so that we can restore the smiles and at least bring down the levels of stress. So one small exercise that you can start doing to bring back those smiles is on our last point over here, stay on the previous slide, is when we are looking at being able to give, we should start by reflecting. Keep a gratitude journal for yourself. Keep a gratitude journal for yourself or a blessings diary for yourself in which you can note down what are the blessings that you have in your life. It is truly not an honor but a blessing for me to be here amidst all of you today. So in my blessings diary, today this is going to be a note in green. Note down what are the blessings that you have in your life from even having a family at home, a family fraternity of peers, a fraternity of your academicians, your professors, Dean Sir is not here, who are able to give you a chance to develop, to evolve and to empower yourself, which is then the first thing to identify your potential and move ahead in that direction. So keep a blessings diary for yourself. Every morning you can add into that blessing diary, into that gratitude journal, because there is so much that we can be grateful for. And if we don't see the silver lining in that cloud, then that cloud will only appear to be dark and dingy, and it will become darker and darker. So it's very important to keep seeing those silver linings. So one thing to start your morning with is your gratitude. And end your day only when you have completed bringing a smile to any one person in your life. It could be somebody like I spent 30 seconds even speaking to the guard when I was entering and wishing him a happy mental health day, and I said 5 reasons to smile up. But the guards are not allowed to come in here. But I said, I'm so thankful to you. And he actually was smiling. I said, I'm so thankful to you that you have गाड़ी अंदर लेके जाने को दे रहे हैं. You know, so even
must have been taken aback.
Yes, and I said, wishing you smiles and sunshine today. And he was actually smiling. And he said, Madam, आपने 30 seconds तो निकाले हमसे बात करने के लिए. You know, so my end of the day, at least I know I've been able to create a smile onto one person's life. Like that, do not end your day without your hand being up, without you having done some unconditional giving. Because when we do that, we maximize our wellness. There is more contentment, there is more satisfaction. So we need to keep building that up, because if we don't build that up, then there are some stress responses which we see on the next slide that give us indications again that am I crossing the boundary of stress. On our next slide, we see some of the somatic concerns or somatic signals that come in our life that give us a signal I am moving away from my boundary of wellness into a concern zone. On the somatic level, you get signals like insomnia. Insomnia is a sleep disturbance, and we have 3 types of insomnias. One is an initial insomnia. Initial insomnia is you want to go to sleep at a particular time, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, the students would say 12 a.m. and
or even later.
But we keep lying down in bed, tossing and turning, and the more we want to sleep, the further sleep goes away from us. Second is called middle insomnia. Middle insomnia is multiple awakenings through the night. You want to have a good night's sleep, but you wake up few times through the night and this becomes difficult for you to get back to sleep. Third is called terminal insomnia. Terminal insomnia is when you want to wake up at a particular time and you wake up an hour or two before that time. So again, that gives you an indication that somewhere your line of balance is moving from balance towards imbalance. Similarly, a disturbance in your appetite.
Also.
It could be age related, but not necessarily if we are correlating it with stress.
But younger generation is more getting,
Actually the whole research is getting reversed. What we had earlier as research is, and I think it's a good point to research now, that the geriatric population post the ages of 70 are getting more insomnia concerns. But now it's the reverse. Students and professionals under the ages of 30, 32 are getting more. And one of the things is, good I have not my phones here today, but one of the major nuances to sleep is what Dr. Google also has in front of us. Not the mobile for normal comments or normal connects, but the mobile which leads us into addictions of social media. Screen time. The radiations, we don't have time to discuss that, but the radiations that come to you are most detrimental for your sleep. A ground rule that 99% people over the world do not follow is to keep their mobile and screens, which could be laptops, iPads, televisions, phones, away from you at least 1 hour before your sleep time. And 99% of the world does not follow this, and thereby the only people who are doing well in life are psychologists, and the psychologists get to be, this is of the psychology.